Could a brand best known for dad shoes create one of the most balanced super shoes on the market in 2024? This is the New Balance Super Comp Elite V4. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rad Dad Bod TV. I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and here we review running shoes. Today we're going to be talking about the New Balance SC Elite V4. Now, if this is your first time watching any of my reviews, then you may notice in the description we have timestamps for all the different aspects of the shoe that we break down. I try and do a good job of being pretty thorough and comprehensive when it comes to reviewing the shoe, so if you're in a rush, go ahead, jump around, but please come back when you have a second and watch the full video because I put a lot of work into these reviews to try and make them as educational as possible. Now, right off the bat, I want to get some disclaimers and disclosures out of the way, but with this shoe, there actually are none because I did buy the shoe with my own money, so neither New Balance nor any other third party has any input on this review, nor do they get to see this review before I post it. These thoughts are entirely my own. Starting off, let's talk about the intended usage of the shoe. So this is New Balance's Supershoe for 2024, specifically for marathon racing, which is actually what most super shoes are designed for. So this is not a shoe that's made for daily use. This is not a shoe that's made for easy runs. It's not a super trainer where there's kind of some blurred lines. No, this is designed for racing in particular. Now, with that in mind, that's how we're going to review the shoe throughout this video. So we're comparing it to other super shoes. Price point, it's coming in at just about $250, which yes is expensive, but yes is actually typical for a super shoe. In fact, with some of the newer releases in 2024, that's actually on the slightly lower end of price ranges. Jumping into some specs, this shoe comes in at 8.1 ounces in a men's size 9, so it is on the kind of somewhat lighter side of shoes, especially super shoes. It used to be that everyone was trying to get as light as possible, but lately a lot of brands have been giving up some weight in terms of having more cushion underfoot or more stability. So all in all, it is a little bit light for a super shoe, which is kind of nice. The stack comes in at 40 millimeters in the heel and 36 millimeters in the forefoot for a 4 millimeter heel to toe drop. So it is on the lower side of heel to toe drop, which is going to make it most comfortable usually for kind of those heel strikers, but midfoot strikers are going to feel really nice in this as well. Forefoot strikers may prefer something with a little bit more of a drop, just depending. As always, though, shoes are subjective, and the number one thing is that it's comfortable for you. From a fit standpoint, lengthwise, I found that it did fit a tiny bit short, but all in all, it fits pretty wide throughout the shoe. So similar fit to the Rebel V4, which I'll talk about in the comparison section, but I wouldn't half size up in the shoe just because even though it does fit a tiny bit short, the width makes it so that it would probably be overly baggy if you did half size up, unless you're a wide foot runner, in which case you may want to consider, yes, half sizing up. I found that the toe box had sufficient room. I did find that I had some slight sliding, and talking about the upper, we'll dive into that. There was a little bit of shifting within the shoe, but at least on the heel, I did have some good lockdown so long as I used the runner knot. Now, from an upper standpoint, they call it a synthetic mesh upper, and they use what's called their phantom fit in order to kind of get you locked into the shoe. Overall, the upper is really, really nice. It's very, very breathable. If I had my foot in the shoe right now, you'd actually be able to see my toes right there because it's somewhat translucent. It's a very, very breathable upper, which is really, really nice. So you don't have to worry about your feet overheating in these shoes, which is a concern for some of the other super shoes this year, in my opinion. The shoe has some additional reinforced paneling kind of around the midfoot, which I'm assuming is supposed to slightly help with some of the lockdown and just kind of the durability around the lacing system, which is kind of nice. And then it does have a structured heel counter, but you can see that the heel itself does kind of collapse here if you put some pressure. Now, like I said, the upper is fairly lightweight, so there's not a whole lot of cushion anywhere in the upper at all. There's some slight padding in the heel, and I did not find that it had any like hot spots or rubbing around the heel or the ankle, which is nice. One major criticism, though, I do have of New Balance's kind of performance lines this year is the tongue is so short, especially if you're someone who uses a runner's knot where the laces end up coming a little higher. Like, the laces barely cover the tongue, so I don't know why New Balance does this. They're not the only brand who's done this before, but I mean, give us like an extra inch or even half inch just on that tongue in order to, protect the top of our feet a little bit better. The other criticism I have around the shoe is the fact that the tongue is not gusseted at all, and so it doesn't really stay put very well. which I don't think would be an issue if the lockdown of the upper was spot on, but I did have some issues with the lockdown of this shoe overall. You can cinch it down as much as you want, but like I said, it runs fairly wide, so I did slide around a little bit. The tongue itself is also just kind of this thin cloth material, which, I didn't feel like I had any major lace pressure, so it is what it is. I understand they were just trying to save some weight. Now, the midsole is made from fuel cell foam, which fuel cell can mean a number of different things for New Balance. In this iteration, it means it is a full PIBA base midsole, which is a supercritical hyper-responsive foam, and then you have the Energy Arc carbon fiber plate within the shoe. The resulting feeling underfoot is, in my opinion, not like the fastest shoe out there, but it does have some good bounce. It does have some good pop. What I would say is it feels like a New Balance super shoe. So New Balance is kind of synonymous with these really soft, comfortable foams, and this is probably one of the more comfortable underfoot feelings of any super shoe that I have tried this year. I find it to be a lot more responsive than past models of the SC Elite, or I think it was RC Elite in previous iterations. And there is a good amount of pop off the ground with these shoes, but it's not so aggressive, not so bouncy that it becomes incredibly unstable. I think that the addition of the carbon fiber plate in this foam does add kind of that stability element, which is why they usually put carbon fiber plates within foams like PIBA foams like this. And I wouldn't say the shoe is inherently unstable, but I will say it is a little bit more stable than the Rebel V4, so if you're used to kind of that feeling and you were a little bit wobbly on that, it's a higher stack, so you would expect this to be a lot less stable, even more so, but again, with that plate, it has a little bit of added stability. I think these are going to be really accommodating for a lot of kind of first-time carbon fiber plate runners who don't need stability options. Because, again, it's not a stability shoe, but it is more stable than I would have expected given the stack height. Because of the softness of the foam, yet the pop that it still provides, I actually did find that this shoe had a lot of pace versatility. So because of that, I do think it will appeal to a wide range of paces for different runners. So that's kind of where I say if you're looking for like your potential first super shoe, you're maybe not shooting for a sub 3 hour marathon, maybe you're just trying to make the time cut off, like 6-7 hour marathon, this could be a comfortable shoe for you because it's going to be very, very supportive, very cushioned, while still allowing you to pick up the pace when necessary. I just want to be clear though, again, it's a super shoe, not a daily use shoe, so you're not likely going to be doing like easy days or recovery runs in this, but you may be doing some of your long runs, especially long runs where you're trying to pick up the pace, maybe doing some threshold or tempo within. Overall, when I'm talking about kind of underfoot feel, especially with super shoes, you have some that are kind of punchy, right, where you hit the ground and then you kind of bounce off and you spring and are propelled forward, and then you have others that are kind of smooth and you kind of transition really well heel to toe and you're able to just kind of hold a pace and feel a little bit more relaxed. It's not as explosive, but it's very responsive. I do feel like this underfoot feel is somewhere in the middle, where you do get a little bit of pop, but not quite to the extent of some of the other faster shoes on the market. The shoe has a rubber outsole, and I believe it's the same compound that you find on some of the other New Balance performance models for the year. And as you can see, now I have about 50-ish miles on the shoe, and there is some decent wear and tear there on the lateral heel. Now, part of that could be because I did, a 20 miler in the shoe, and towards the end of the run I was fatiguing, and so I started to fall back on my heels a little bit more. But then compared to the Rebel V4, they were all shorter runs, so I didn't my form didn't break down as much maybe on those runs. So understanding the usage of the shoe, that might make sense why there's a little bit more wear and tear. But it does seem that, if this is kind of where I'm at 50 miles, once you get kind of 100 miles in, you may wear through some of those back elements of the shoe, or depending on where your foot strikes, you may wear down some of that traction. Overall, though, I am a fan of the traction that New Balance uses. I think it does very, very well on a variety of surfaces, and I think that a couple of years ago, super shoes all had very, very minimal traction because we were trying to shed weight, and that made it difficult to train during certain seasons. So with these, I think you can run in the cold, you can run, on wet surfaces, and you're going to be okay. Overall, I am a fan of having some traction on the shoe, even if it does add a little bit of extra weight. But again, they saved weight throughout the shoe, which is really, really nice, so it's not a big concern. Now, as far as who's this shoe for, I've kind of alluded to it a couple of different times. I think this is one of the best Everyman super shoes on the market. Those who are New Balance fans, those who really resonate with a slightly softer foam, maybe a less aggressive feel underfoot, are going to really like the shoe for the marathon. But I think again, because of the setup of a slightly lower to mid drop, because the lightweight of the shoe, because the support of the shoe, the surprisingly stable foam underfoot with that plate, it's really going to appeal, I think, to a lot of the back of the packers, mid of the packers, even some people who like to run really fast. I've seen multiple people run sub 3 in the shoe as well. So whether you're a first-time super shoe user and you're looking for something a little bit more accommodating, maybe you're a wide foot runner and you find that not many super shoes come in wide sizes, this is going to be a really, really good option for you if you're kind of exploring that super shoe category, or if you already know that you're a New Balance fan. All right, let's talk about some comparisons with the shoe. The first one I want to make is with the Rebel V4, because as you can see visually, these shoes are almost identical. In fact, in the same colorway, sometimes it's hard to differentiate unless you really know the details you're looking for. Now, the Rebel V4 is kind of the lightweight daily trainer version of the SC Elite, so this could be a shoe that you're taking out on your speed work or your easy runs even, while you're training in these for your long runs and your marathons. The fit of these two shoes is almost identical. The overall feel of these shoes is almost identical. Underfoot transition, again, almost identical. I will say personally, I found the Rebel V4 to be more responsive though in terms of kind of bounce, and it's a different foam. It's an EVA PIBA blend over here, while this is pure PIBA with the carbon fiber plate. On the opposite end, I did actually find this to be a little bit more stable than the Rebel V4, and I had a little bit of stability issue, and as many people have told me that they have also had stability issues in the Rebel. So all in all, very, very similar training companions. If you're running in the Rebel, you'll probably like the V4, and vice versa. The other comparison I want to make is to the Hoka Cielo X1, which was Hoka's super shoe for 2024. These two shoes, to me, fall into a similar category in terms of, like, could be used potentially as a super trainer, can pick up the pace though, a lot more pace versatile than maybe some other super shoes on the market, a lot more accommodating to various paces. The difference though is this one's going to be a little bit more bouncy, this one's going to be a little bit more smooth. I find the Cielo X1 to be more stable than the SC Elite, but again, really might come down to preference. Now, I think that the SC Elite is a lot lighter. In fact, I know it's a lot lighter. I think that the upper is a lot more breathable, and I do think it is a lot wider. So if you tried the Cielo and you really liked the feel, but a couple of things didn't really work for you, then you will probably like the SC Elite in terms of like width, breathability, and weight. But both really, really good options, but not like the fastest shoes on the market. But again, the trade-off is they're a little bit more versatile in my opinion. Now, when we're talking super shoes, you always kind of have to look at the Alpha Fly. So this is kind of where I was talking about some shoes are a little bit more punchy. The Alpha Fly, in my opinion, is one of the most punchy shoes on the market in terms of super shoes, where you really have to hit the ground pretty hard, but when you do, you really propel forward. You really kind of explode off. It's going to feel a lot more aggressive, right? For me, if I push too hard in the Alpha Fly 3, I actually get calf cramps, and in the SC Elite, I finished like a 20-mile run and honestly felt super, super fresh. So these may save your legs a little bit more, but this is going to be a faster overall shoe. Again, the trade-off though is I wouldn't even consider running like moderate in the Alpha Flies, while moderate paces feel really, really comfortable in the SC Elite. Just to kind of wrap things up and summarize, the SC Elite V4 is a very accommodating, very comfortable, very fun super shoe. It is lightweight, it is breathable, it is surprisingly supportive, but not a stability shoe, and it's really going to be comfortable for a variety of paces, and because of that, it's one of the safer shoe choices when it comes to super shoes. It's certainly not the fastest on the market, but it can go fast, and it's really, in my opinion, built for those wide foot runners who like a little bit of comfort underfoot. So all in all, I was pretty happy with the shoe. Again, I got 50 or so miles in them. There was a time where I thought I was going to race my marathon in these, but I want something that's going to have a little bit more pop, a little bit more speed, and so stay tuned for that. But overall, I think New Balance is headed in the right direction, and I've really enjoyed all of their performance models this year so far. Now, if you've stuck around this long, I sure appreciate you. Do me a favor, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments if there's anything that I missed on this shoe or anything you think I misstated. Shoes are subjective, right? So would love to hear your thoughts on the SC Elite V4. And with that, I'll leave you with a question, which is, what is your top super shoe of 2024? Thanks for sticking around, guys.